Okay, well, so good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Bowman. I am the Chief Advancement Officer here at the YMCA of Coastal Georgia. I'm just thrilled to have you all here. I'm sure when you were invited by either your supervisor or another colleague, and they said, we'd like you to attend an annual campaign training, you probably thought, great, they're probably going to teach me all about asking for money and tell me that's what I'm going to be doing in my job. And I'm here to tell you that we're going to spend a lot of time this morning learning how to engage folks so that it doesn't feel like you're asking for money and really you're just having a conversation about the wonderful work that we do at the Y. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have some slides and we'll get started there with that. Great. So for me, in my seat, in my job, I have the lovely opportunity to really take a look at all of the impact the Y has every year and really sum it up and help our communities understand what we do. And I thought it would be a great place for us to start this morning to take a real quick look back at 2020. And for those of you who've been on the wild ride of 2020 with the Y or in your life will know that it was a tough year. My 6-year-old summed it up really well the other night. I was tucking him in and he said, Mama, this year has been really mean. And I said, Everett, you are so right. It has been really mean, but there have been so many bright lights and moments of hope. And I think the impact that the Y had in 2020 was really amazing in our community. So let's take a look back at the work that we're doing collectively in our shared impact. So in 2020, the YMCA, even though we were closed for a period of time and we were doing things in a very different way, we still served nearly 63,000 members. So think about that. That's a lot of people. And that's the full number of people in a unit, right? So it's the families, it's individuals, and over 14,000 program participants. So people that came for either youth sports programming, before and after school care in the counties where schools were open, summer camp. And for those of you who are new to the association or maybe are only familiar with your branch, I think it's really interesting for you all to know that the YMCA of Coastal Georgia has a very large footprint here in the Coastal Empire area. We serve 7 counties. So I like to tell people it's really from the South Carolina border nearly to the Florida border. So Bryan, Bullock, Chatham, Effingham, Flynn, Liberty, and McIntosh counties are all places where the YMCA has a physical presence. We have 10 facility locations. And when we say facility locations, we mean the bricks and mortar building with usually a fitness facility. And we also have 53 before and after school care sites that are at local elementary schools across those counties. So that's a really huge part of the YMCA's footprint is that the opportunity to help serve working families and kids before and after school. There are 3 full day child learning centers that serve children 6 weeks through pre-K and an armed services Y affiliate. So if you all did not know that, our Liberty County YMCA is actually an armed services YMCA, and they do a lot of wonderful work in the military community there. So 2020, the wild ride of 2020 that seems to be hanging out into 2021. Like I said, it was a wild year. It was a crazy year, but the Y was able to really step up in new and interesting ways. And many of you were involved in this exciting work and hopefully had your hands in the process and really got to feel the mission. I think if you are a program staff person, a welcome center person, you work in the fitness room, you know, it's easy to say, I work at a place that has a mission, but to feel the mission, to see the mission, to see it in action is an entirely different thing. And in 2020, we definitely saw that. So we served 319 families through our virtual learning e-camps, supporting families as children were learning in a very different way for the first time ever. This is an impressive number. Over 73,000 meals were distributed through our local branches, and every single one of our branches had some sort of impact or work with this type of project. And this, to me, is such an impressive number and has such an important feel because in a time when people were so incredibly isolated, right? They said, stay at your house, don't leave. Remember at the beginning of the pandemic, they were telling us, make sure you're even, wiping your groceries off, and people were feeling so scared and alone, but yet people who were in need of a hot meal were able to come to the Y. And that to me is the interaction of 73,000 meals being handed from one person to another. So think about that positive community impact and relationship that happened just in that very simple way. Those of you who maybe are not familiar with this program, we have a program here in Savannah called Fresh Express, and it is a mobile food pantry of sorts, but it provides fresh produce. It takes fresh produce into two very underserved areas in inner city Savannah that are what we have identified and have been identified as food deserts. And a food desert is a location that doesn't have access to healthy food in a very easy way. So they can't get fresh fruits and vegetables. Perhaps there isn't a grocery store that's in an easy location, and transportation is an issue. And 2,500 families were served through that program in 2020. Many of you were involved with blood drives at your local branches, which is such a great way for the Y to be helping the community and giving back. And over 215 pints of blood were donated. And we had active blood drives at Habersham, Liberty, Effingham, Golden Isles, and McIntosh. And those are still continuing. I think I saw, Mackenzie, that Tybee was having one coming up, and that there's just a lot of really great stuff coming on. So those of you who work in the program space, what a great way to help make impact in your community. When we were closed and we had to pivot our services very quickly from a vibrant, active YMCA with lots of members coming in and using the facility, we were able to serve 90 families through critical personnel childcare. So those of you who were involved with that, who helped first responders and medical personnel, know how important that was. I was just floored by the number of families who were having to drop off very young children in a very scary time. We didn't know much about this virus, and it was really great that the Y was able to step in and be a safe place for those families. We had over 800 children have the opportunity to enjoy the magic of Christmas through giving tree programs across our association. So that's a wonderful way that members are getting involved, community members. And even though we had a summer that looked very different than summers before, and maybe for some of you it was a blessing to have not as many children in the building. I know it probably felt very different, but we were still able to serve 480 summer campers this past summer. So to put that into perspective, that was face-to-face interaction that children were having with their peers. And many of them are coming out of months of maybe only being at home with just their parents or siblings. I have two boys that are at an awkward age apart from each other, and I know that they're so excited when they get to be with peers their own age and spend time, but it's also screen-free fun. So think about that. We're all on Zoom together this morning, and it probably would be nicer for us to be in person, but to have that opportunity to interact and have fun was so great, and for families to have a sense of normalcy in a really scary time. Those of you who are familiar with YFit Live, which was a new way that we were interacting with our members that we started last year, I know is continuing to grow across the association, is engaging members in a virtual way so that they're still able to enjoy the Y, enjoy the program, group exercise specifically. And we had over 570 members take virtual fitness classes through YFit Live in the second part of 2020. And this is an impressive number. Most of you work at branches with active child watch programs. And those of you who are in the thick of it know that many, many families rely on that program, whether it's child watch or Mother's Morning Out, Parents Morning Out, for lots of reasons. Perhaps it's because they're coming and they need the outlet for fitness. They need a place for their child while they work out. Maybe it's because they have an appointment, different things they're using Mother's Morning Out for. But look at that number, over almost 3,800 children. That's unduplicated kids. So not kids that were served more than once, but that many one time were cared for in child watch programs. And I think that this is such an incredible number, because if you've been watching the news, and it's hard not to, there's a lot of talk about what's being called the second pandemic, right? Which has to do with mental health for both adults and children, and how important it is to take care of yourself during this scary time. And child watch is really giving many, many families an outlet for space for that, right? To do something for themselves. And so we're really filling an interesting need. So you can spin it lots of different ways if you think about it. It is, yes, child care service while they're there, but also that reprieve that many people really need. We do have a lot of counties where schools are back in session and have been back in session in person for the full school year. So Liberty, McIntosh, Glenn, and Effingham have been serving families with before and after school care programs, both in the elementary schools and at the Y. So that's a really thriving program. And I really want to just give kudos. There's a lot of wonderful pictures on this slide, but our staff across the association, you all are really the frontline team. You created such safe, fun, and socially distanced family events in 2020 that were so important. we started, we've got pre-K graduation up there at Golden Isles. It was one of the first things that started to pop up, and it just warmed my heart to see. I mean, obviously it was drive-through, but these are little life moments that are so important for kids and so important for families that are celebrated. And we can't take for granted those simple things that the Y gets involved with. In the bottom corner is Trunk or Treat at the Habersham Y, which again looked very different this year, but it was so important for families to have that opportunity. And I was really, and we all should be really proud of the way that we as a team and as colleagues and staff and volunteers at the Y were able to show up and make things like that happen for our community this year. So kudos to everybody who was involved. It's really important. So kind of all brings us to why we're here this morning. Obviously, hopefully you all know that the YMCA is a nonprofit, and we do raise money every year through our annual campaign and lots of other fundraising efforts to help support our mission to do the great work. So when someone said to you, hey, you're going to be going to this training, I want you to attend, it's about the annual campaign. Like I said, you probably thought, oh, great, now I'm going to have to be asking for money, and I don't know how to do that. I don't like to do that. And I'm here to tell you that I'm a fundraiser. That is my job, and I don't like to ask for money either. So let's think about it in a different way together this morning. And let's think about it as inviting someone to be a part of something greater and to be a part of our mission. So what is the annual campaign? First of all, it is about people. It is about connecting resources to our YMCA to help people. It is not about bricks and mortar. It is not about capital campaigns. It is about people. So the Y is a place where everyone is welcome, regardless of race, age, religion, or financial standing. We are for all. It is also about supporting those in need. So annual campaign dollars go where membership fees don't. So when a member pays their membership dues every month, it helps to do things like keep the electricity on in the building, right? Make sure there's hot water for the showers, make sure that the treadmills are running, those types of things. The dollars that we raise in our annual campaign really help us reach into the community and provide programs and services that families need. That means being able to provide affordable childcare. It means being able to provide financial assistance for families that need it, and helping create activities like we were just talking about for families that keep kids safe, people healthy, and families strong. It's also an opportunity for us to invite others to give back to the community. The YMCA is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's one of the largest philanthropic organizations in coastal Georgia. So like you saw earlier, our footprint is very large. We're serving a wide variety of people across many backgrounds. We are dedicated to helping children and families live healthier and more productive lives in spirit, mind, and body. So I don't know if you all knew this, hopefully many of you will, but our YMCA is actually the 13th oldest YMCA in the country. It was founded in 1855. So that means this year we are celebrating 166 years of service to Savannah and the greater coastal empire, which is amazing. So think about that. You're involved in something that's so much greater and bigger than you can imagine. And there are YMCAs all across the country that are all doing similar work. And it's amazing to be a part of a movement that's bigger than who you really are. So what does the annual campaign do? Well, let's talk about it a little bit, break it down a little bit. So like I mentioned, membership fees allow the Y to be a gathering place for the community. It allows us to have that opportunity for fitness, and for all those other important opportunities that the building provides. But the annual campaign helps us support a variety of programs and health and wellness activities. So this is actually a snapshot that comes from one of our brochures that we have when we talk to people about giving. So it says things like you nurture kids, you help provide summer day camp, youth sports, childcare, before and after school enrichment, giving kids a safe place to grow and thrive. And I don't think we can really underscore the importance of that word safe place. And for so many kids, the Y really is that safe place for them. And it provides really a constant in their lives. And it's really so important. It helps you save lives, right? If a child learns to swim at the Y and an adult learns to swim at the Y, we live in a coastal community. There is water everywhere. And it is so important that people have confidence around water and having those important life lessons. We really are able to do a lot of wonderful work through Livestrong at the YMCA for cancer survivors, helping them to find a new normal in a very scary time in their lives too, when health is so important. One of my favorite things about the Y is senior programming. And I know many of you work in branches with very active senior programs. And let's say it keeps seniors young, right? It gives so many of our seniors a wonderful place to be healthy, to have opportunity to improve their health, to stay strong, and to have connection. there are many, many people that live in with a lot of social isolation, right? They don't have a lot of interaction with other people. Maybe they don't have family nearby. The Y really provides that for them. We have a board member at the Habersham Y who for years and years I would just see eating peanuts in the hallway. But then I learned she was always sharing them with people, and it was her connection. And it's more than coffee. It's a connection. And it's a family. So the work we do with seniors is really incredible. And you help others. And this is an important note. Every dollar that is raised at the YMCA of Coastal Georgia stays here in our community and our branches to help our community. So it's dollars raised locally, stay locally. So if you are at Tybee, the dollars that you raise on Tybee stay on Tybee. If you're down in Golden Isles, the money that you raise there stays there. Effingham, all that. So that's important to understand. It's not that we're raising money and sending it off. It is to help our neighbors and our communities that we share. And again, supporting local families, providing financial assistance and support that makes the Y possible. The pandemic has brought out a lot of issues for families that perhaps didn't exist before, right? Where's money going to come for my next meal? How am I going to figure out how I'm going to go back to work and have childcare for my family? And then how am I going to pay for that? And the Y is there to help support that. We never turn anyone away due to the inability to pay. And that's one of the reasons why we raise money during the annual campaign, is to support that. So let's just real quickly, we're going to go over the who, the how, and the when all this works. So who asks for money during the annual campaign or really throughout the year? Really, it's everybody's job. Staff are involved, board members, campaign volunteers. Who gives to the Y? Many of you have already made, I recognize so many names from seeing your names on pledge cards already this year, but our staff are incredibly loyal and give back to the Y, and you all have no idea how much that support is recognized and also appreciated. Our board members, volunteers, members, when we were closed in 2020, you may remember we asked our members, please don't cancel your membership or put it on hold while we're closed. We'd like you to have the opportunity to stay with us. And what that's going to help us do is to reach in the community and do outreach work that's really important during this time. And we had over 6,000 membership units stay during that time and keep their memberships active. And just so you can understand the volume of that, it was $330,000 of membership fees that were donated in the month of April last year, which made an incredible difference in our association. But members also give throughout the year different things as well. Community members, local businesses, foundations. When does it happen? We focus on giving year round because people give at different times for different reasons. But there's a really heavy emphasis during the spring, late March to mid-May, when we do our community campaign. And that's when we have the opportunity to talk to our members, talk to local businesses, local folks to get them involved. And it's kind of that exciting time that's we're all working on something together. So how does it happen? You may be most familiar with face-to-face asking, which seems the most daunting and probably the most scary, and that's okay. And some people are really comfortable with it and some people aren't, but that's one way that we do it. We also have lots of other fundraising activities that happen throughout the year. We do fundraising online. We do a lot of work with mail campaigns. Local branches host events. And then hopefully you all were involved and were excited about our YMCA Day of Giving that happens in December. And donors can pledge, pay later. They can add on to their membership draft, give online, lots of different ways. So now we're coming to the part that you probably have been like, oh gosh, now she's gonna tell me how we have to ask for money. But this is really where I wanted to talk about what is your role in all of this. This is the part that everybody in our association has a job to play. So your role and your job is year-round engagement and relationship building. So what are we talking about when we mean that? This means that every interaction that we have with somebody makes an impression on what they think about the Y and how they will remember what we did, how we showed up, and basically can help build their relationship back with the Y. So think about the way you answer the phone, the way you greet somebody when they come in for a program. How good does it feel when you walk in and someone says, Tanya, it's so great to see you. I've been waiting for you. I'm so glad you're here. It feels so great when someone recognizes who you are. Those of you who helped to work with senior outreach while we were closed or even throughout the year, those phone calls that we made, the way that we interacted with people, it all makes a difference. And this is everybody's job. So I sent out before this training today, this attachment that had 4 questions. And I'm going to actually, this is going to be the time for some participation. So hopefully some of you are brave this morning. I know it's early, but these questions really were to help you get thinking about what you talk about with somebody when you had the opportunity to talk about the why, and maybe how would that get involved in making an ask for the annual campaign, or not asking, but just engaging. So these questions are questions that I like to think about when I'm thinking about engaging someone or what I might talk to them about. So would anybody who is brave like to unmute and share what is something that they jotted down about what makes you feel, what about the why makes you feel proud? Do we have any brave souls ready to share this morning?
Hey, Rachel.
Hey. Oh, it's Hannah. Hannah from Statesboro.
Hi, everyone. So I'm very proud of all the relationships that I've been able to build at the Y, whether it be parents of a child or some of my senior members that come to my group fitness classes. I'm very proud that all of them speak not just so highly about me, but the Y, that I could be a good representative of the Y, and they feel that it's a place for them to come and have that family atmosphere. Multiple members will tell me that they almost feel like a second home at the Y. So I'm pretty proud of that.
I love that, Hannah. Thank you for sharing that. That's so great. And what a wonderful thing for you to be able to share out that what you said, that it feels like a family, right? And that you're proud of that. That's great. That's how awesome is it to work in a place where you can say, I am proud of the work that I'm doing and the relationships that I'm building and the impact that they're having. Awesome. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share something that they're proud about, or what about the why makes them feel proud? A quiet bunch. Mackenzie, I'm going to call on you because I can see you up there in the corner. She's like, great. How about you? Do you want to share?
The same thing as Hannah. I wrote down the community that we bring. Like, I feel all these new families we've had on Tybee through our programs and stuff, we've got to bring them together and introduce them to all these new people that they had no idea and like how they would meet them. And now they hang out outside the Y, and I just think that's awesome.
That is such a great point. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is a wonderful example. Tybee has never had school age programming in the branch for the school year, and they're offering eCamp for the first time. So you're right. You guys have engaged an entirely new population of people that are probably seeing the Y in a whole new way. And the community has been able to see the Y show up in a way that was so meaningful. So kudos for recognizing that. I think that's wonderful. Okay, let's move on. Let's try, does anybody want to share what maybe they wish the community knew or understood about the Y that perhaps they don't?
Well, that we're not just
okay,
about.
So we got Tanya from Golden Isles. Thank you. I'm just introducing you.
Tanya from Liberty.
Oh, Liberty. Sorry. I'm thinking, why am I thinking you're at Golden Isles? Just kidding.
It's two Tanyas now. That we're not just fitness and Y-based.
That's great.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that we're more of a community outreach program than they think, you know. It's the social ability part of it all. You know, we definitely help with youth development outside of Y-base, you know, the connections, sometimes the peer groups. It's a lot going on. They aren't aware of.
Great point. That's another, thank you for bringing that up too. So many people are only aware of the Y for what they use it for, right? They don't ever think about it for more than that. So this is such a great opportunity. If Tanya was talking with someone, she might say, you know, you might only know the Y for after school care, but I'd love to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in this space. And perhaps it might be about feeding programs or, you know, youth development. The Liberty County Y actually has a gymnastics program that maybe not a whole lot of folks know about, which is a wonderful skill building. I never knew this, and Carol Tanrath at the Islands Y taught me this, but gymnastics is actually wonderful development for your brain, for mathematics. Did not know that. And that's something that the Y, you know, is helping with too. But we do, the Liberty County Y does a lot of work with wounded warriors and with the military community, and that's a great point too. Great. Tommy, Tommy, do you hear me? If you can hear me, I'm going to ask you to unmute, but will you tell me something that you wish the community knew about the Y in Effingham County that you would share?
Of course. Good morning, Ms. Rachel.
Good morning.
So really it's the education piece. You know, when members hear of the annual campaign, a lot of times they don't truly understand. It's that education piece where they want that new treadmill. They want, the newest piece of equipment. They don't understand that the annual campaign is so much more, that it is to help the senior walking in the door, the cancer patient who's walking in, holding on to that last string. And, they don't understand that it's where dreams come true. It's where a kid, can grow up in the Y, and truly the possibilities are limitless for what we offer, not only to our youngest, but to our eldest as well. And I think it's just that educational piece. That's our job, to make our members aware of.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I will tell you, I love what you said. Tommy's a huge Disney fan, for those of you who don't know him, but where dreams come true. It just kind of made me think about that too. But last night we had our Metro board meeting, and I had the mission moment. And actually, I'm going to share this with you all now because it was very interesting to me. I did not realize that Black History Month actually got its start at the YMCA back in Chicago. There was a young gentleman who started an organization there, and it really was to learn more about African-American history, and it evolved into something greater, which is now what we have as Black History Month. And there are a lot of famous Black Americans who have interaction or impact through the YMCA. Jackie Robinson is one who many people are familiar with. He was actually a youth sports coach in Harlem at one point. And perhaps the most famous Black American that everyone is familiar with, one of the greatest civil rights leaders of our time, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He grew up at the YMCA on Butler Street in Atlanta. He learned to swim there. And this is the point to kind of tie in what Tommy just said. I just mentioned he was one of the greatest civil rights leaders, right, ever. But at one point, he was just a kid at the Y. Think about that. There are children in our programs every day that have so much potential that is just waiting to be realized. That gives me goosebumps to just think about it. And what an opportunity for us to provide them with opportunity, an opportunity to see something different, a new thing to try. Who knows what they'll turn into? And doesn't that just make you feel awesome to be a part of something that's making such a great impact? I know it does me. So thank you all for sharing on that. I hope those questions kind of helped you think about that a little bit more. I'm going to send this next piece out to each of you after this training, but this is something that I love to use. It's my why story, and it's kind of one of those fill in the blanks things, but it really gives you an opportunity to kind of think about your why story. People will tell you all the time, oh, you just tell people your why story, right? So I didn't grow up in the Y. I started working at the Y. I've been here 13 years. And people would say that. They were like, oh, that's just how you do it. We just tell people stories here. And I said, well, I don't think I have one. But I did have one. And my story was it's evolved over time. But I had moved here from Switzerland. I was living and working there. And I didn't know anyone in Savannah. And the Y became like a family to me. And it has been such a support network for me for so many years. And I've made so many wonderful friends. It's been a great place for my kids. And I love and get excited about the opportunity to connect people back to that. And we all have those types of stories. Some of them are different. Some of it might be, you came to the Y because you needed a job, and then you learned about the mission. And like Hannah said, now you're incredibly proud of the relationships that you've built. But this is a great place for you to kind of fill in the blanks and think about it. And hopefully you'll be able to share this back. I always like to say, like, what if you got in the elevator with, let's just say, George Clooney, and we all know he loves to give money. He's a huge philanthropist. And he said to you, oh, I see you have your Y shirt on. You work at the Y. Tell me about it. What would you say to him from, floor 13 to floor 1, if that's all the time that you had to let him know what you said? I think many of you just mentioned things that would be incredibly impactful. And just all it is talking, sharing information. So kind of to sum up, let's just take a quick look back at kind of ways that you can really make an impact at your Y and get involved during this time of the year. If you can, make a meaningful personal gift. And like I said, many of you have already done that, and that is so appreciated. Gifts of every amount make a huge, tremendous difference. It is really great to be able for us to say together that our staff are supportive of this. It's like an endorsement of the work that we do. And so thank you for all of you have given so far. And we will be getting those I give things that go on your name tag. So if you don't have one, we're ordering more and they're coming soon, because I think it's great to be able to share that excitement. Know the Y, like Tommy said, it's all about education. You don't have to know everything about the Y. If you know a few things about the areas that are really important to you, I always tell people, talk about what makes your heart sing. So if it's before and after school care because it means so much to you, talk about that piece that makes your heart sing. For me, it's the senior piece. I love to talk about that. So that's for me what makes my heart sing, that and kids. But what is it for you that's important? Be able to speak to that. I put a link in our chat to the online campaigner zone, which has lots of information about YMCA programs, branches, all of the work that we do. So that's a great resource. Those materials will be updated with 2021 materials very soon, but 2020 stuff is there and it's all very similar, but it will give you a great overview. That's a wonderful resource. And here's what I think is really important. If you don't remember anything else from today, your job is to listen, to advocate when you can, and ask when you feel comfortable or when it's appropriate, right? So listening is the biggest part. Like I mentioned to you, I've been doing this work here at this Y for 13 years. And in all that time, I've probably spent just the smallest fraction actually making the ask, right? There's so much more about fundraising than asking. It's all those pieces that come in between. It is talking about, like Tanya said, that we are so much more than Y-base and fitness, right? It's advocating for those programs in the community that exist because they're so needed. eCamp at Tybee, where would those kids have gone? I mean, where would they be? And not everybody is comfortable sending back. And my goodness, our children, some of them are back in school this week for the first time in 2 months. Where would they have been? They have been at the Y. They have been in a safe place. There's been some beautiful stories that have lifted up out of that. So, and then, like I said, ask when you feel comfortable. There is a little note here that's very important. Sometimes we get off these calls. We're so excited. We know exactly who we're going to go ask. And most of the time you can really ask pretty much anyone that you feel comfortable with. But it is really important that if you have somebody that you think might be a good donor, or maybe it's a business, that you make sure you run it through somebody at your branch who will then run it up with us, so we can make sure that we're not working on them for something greater, or that there's not 50 of us asking the same person for the same thing. Just a quick little housekeeping note there. And again, sharing your story, sharing your piece about the why that's important to you. Giving is so much a matter of education, right? It is about what do you know? So sharing the value of the YMCA, and I hope you all picked something up from that today. And be excited about it. Enthusiasm is contagious. I loved Hannah's energy when she said, I'm so proud of that. How can you say no to something like that? You know, it's like, remember when you were a kid, it was so easy to ask your mom for a quarter for maybe an ice cream sandwich or something. Like we used to be really brave and being really proud about the stuff that we do. Be proud about it. Be brave about what you're doing and be brave about sharing that. And many of you have been engaged in our online e-campaigning peer-to-peer. You know, we have text to give, and you are able to actually set up your own YMCA giving page. And you can share that out through social media channels and email. That's a great, easy way to get involved. So lots of information. I want to be cognizant and aware of the time. I'm happy to field questions, but before I do that, I just want to make sure you all know how important you are to this YMCA, how thankful we are to have such a wonderful team of staff who truly care about the community, who come to work every day and show up with a nurturing, caring, kind attitude to help make our communities a stronger and better place to be. And we said it at the beginning, the why is about people. It is about all of you. It is about the community, and you are all part of it. So I really appreciate you taking the time this morning to join in and learn a little bit more. I hope you did gather a few things that will be helpful. So I will open it up to questions, and then I'll hang out for a little while. You can stay if you have some more questions, but if not, I've also put my email address in the chat. You're more than welcome at any time to send me an email if you have any questions or you think of something later, and I'd love to talk to each of you. So I'll open it up to questions at this point if anybody has any.
I do have one, Rachel. This is
Sure.
Hannah. Where can we access the online version or the recording of this?
Great question. So once this is done today, I will go ahead and get it uploaded to our YMCA YouTube channel, and I'll share that back out because I've had a lot of people ask that. And I will also be sharing all the slides that I shared today. So if there was something that you wanted to look at again or learn a little bit more. And I will tell you all too, the YMCA of Coastal Georgia YouTube channel has some wonderful videos that have been produced about lots of different things in our association. So that's a great resource too, if you're kind of curious and want to see what's going on. Great question. Thank you, Hannah. Any other questions? Okay, well, like I said, I'm happy. If you think of something later, please feel free to send me an email. You can send me you can give me a call. I'm at the corporate office. I'll share the slides with everybody. There's also going to be, you're going to get a survey, a quick survey over probably the next day or so, really to kind of ask you about if you thought maybe some other things you'd like to learn more about. We're going to be putting together a series of trainings around different topics that have to do with philanthropy specifically. There's lots of other trainings that are available in the Y, but that will be something that I'll be helping with. So again, I really just appreciate you all, and it was great to see some of your faces this morning. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rachel.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Rachel.
Welcome. Have a great day.